Well, once again, thanks for joining us here today for Beyond QA, simplifying the journey from QA to quality engineering. Today's presentation will cover what quality engineering is and why it's important for technology organizations, as well as how do you plan for a transition from quality assurance to quality engineering. You might be looking at how to gain buy-in with your organization and how to best adopt quality engineering. And we'll take a look at 4 key drivers that have been successful for a number of the clients that we've worked with, as well as a step-by-step process on exactly how to assess your organization's quality maturity level. And then we'll wrap things up with how to build a roadmap to implement quality engineering within your organization. And then, of course, an open discussion and a Q&A session at the end. We'd like to do introductions here really quick before we dive into this. I'm Kirk Walton. I'm Vice President here at tapQA, and excited to have Michele and Anne for the presentation as well. Michele and Anne, I'll hand it over to you for introductions.
All right, good afternoon. Michele Clark, Principal Consultant with tapQA. I've been in the technology industry for over 25 years. Started my career as a developer, and I've held many roles in that time. I am passionate about quality assurance, and I've held leadership roles in Oracle, GE, Molina Healthcare, and Scientific Games. Also passionate about metrics and measurement and establishing maturity with an organization. I'm happy to join you in this conversation this afternoon, and I hope that what we share with you can help you in your journey. And I'll pass it to Anne Hungate.
Thanks, Michele. Hi, everyone. I'm Anne Hungate, and I am the head of technology for RTI International. That is a research institute based in Research Triangle Park, North Carolina, situated among all the universities, and helping solve the world's problems through the application of science. I have been in technology like Michele a long time, over 25 years, and I've worn most of the hats. I also started as a developer, but my real passion is quality and quality engineering. And I have been really researching, speaking, writing on this space of quality engineering and DevOps transition and transformation for about the past 12 years. So I'm looking forward to today's conversation, and I'm really interested in getting your questions and your thoughts as we go along this, and let's keep this as interactive. We've got the chat room, so if I'm keeping it open. Michele is going to be our primary presenter. I'll keep the chat box open. So if you have any questions, please just put them in the chat box or in the Q&A, and we'll go from there.
Quality matters more than ever. Over the past 20 years, technology has grown to where products run our daily lives. Users have so many options when it comes to technology products, and they demand high quality and usability. They demand a fast, seamless, bug-free experience. Quality is now a differentiating factor, a true competitive advantage for your organization. Many organizations that have traditionally practiced quality control and quality assurance, but in the modern software development world, guided by Agile and DevOps principles, those that adopt quality engineering methodologies see an increase in product quality, speed to market, and ultimately higher customer satisfaction. Next slide.
So the question I know a lot of us have, or I'm sure a lot of the folks who are attending today are just, why quality engineering? Why is it important? What exactly is it? And I think for a lot of us, we might be thinking already that, hey, we're already doing quality engineering, right? I have quality engineers on my team. If we're not doing quality engineering, then what are we doing? And how do we start, how do we bring in quality engineering to our organization?
Well, Kirk, there's some good questions, and I'm going to start with, and like to provide some answers, but I am going to start by asking everyone a question, and please respond, I guess, in the chat, and Anna will let me know, or Kirk will let me know how you're responding. And it's a yes or no or a maybe response. How many of you would leave a brand or a company after just one bad experience?
I'm a solid yes.
I'm a little more forgiving, but it probably wouldn't go past 2. I would say that.
And do we have any responses from our participants?
We got maybes, yeses, a lot of maybes. So we've got some Kirks and we've got some Anns.
Okay.
And we got a no. Our Carlitha is the nicest of all of us. Definitely. Thank you, Sebastian. I am so with you. No, Jennifer, we give him a second chance. She's like Kirk. So, yeah, we only had, we had a few second chances,
Okay.
but not much more than that.
All right. Well, it may surprise you, but 1 in 3 customers, 33%, would leave a brand they love after just one bad experience. 92% would completely abandon a company after 2 or 3 negative reactions. And that's based on PricewaterhouseCoopers data on customer experience reporting. In a competitive landscape, companies that recognize the importance of delivering an exceptional customer experience stand out from their competition. Digital demands new approaches to the testing practice with a shift in priorities to include strategies driven by DevOps and Agile, the need to connect new technologies to existing enterprise and legacy systems, and tighter integration between development and test activities. Demand for faster test cycles that incorporate the user feedback into the development and testing process. And Anne, did you want to add anything additional?
Oh, I think you nailed it, right? You guys, why quality engineering is because we want to do what's right for our brands, for our customers, for ourselves. And nobody likes to be on the receiving end of late code. Nobody wants to be the one that has to go back to the development team over and over again saying, well, you didn't quite get it, or I'm still getting this problem. So, quality engineering is about the brand, it's about the customers, but guys, it's about all of you also and your experience on your team.
Thank you, Anne.
I love this slide because quality engineering is an ounce of prevention. It is true shift left. We use the word shift left, but what's great right now is the emergence of DevOps, that it's become mainstream. Let's automate, let's compress. I'll give you quickly, my DevOps definition is the deliberate automation and compression of the software delivery supply chain. Right? So DevOps is the deliberate automation and compression of the software delivery supply chain. Let's get the product to market faster. You cannot do that unless you focus on quality engineering. So quality engineering is getting in there and it is testing requirements. It is taking stories and writing tests on stories before the developers start working. It is writing and automating those tests so the developers can press a button and run something. Quality engineering is automating your regression suite so that we are not pushing bugs that could have been caught into production. So quality engineering is really about prevention and preventing in an automated way. So it's an essential component of DevOps.
So the road to QE is unlike, it focuses on 3 aspects, and they are people, process, and technology. And I'm sure that you've heard this in any focus within an IT organization. Like Anne mentioned, the processes will need to shift left, testing roles will need to evolve, and obviously the uptake of newer technology to support going fast.
So I know a lot of feedback that we had before the webinar was just around how do I really drive adoption of quality engineering with my organization? How do I get buy-in from management, leadership, to take on something that's clearly important, but maybe I'm just not getting universal buy-in or universal agreement that it is something that we should be tackling.
Yes, Kirk, can we do a quick poll and folks type into the chat box, how many of you feel like you're running into a brick wall, or you're meeting with resistance when you ask for funding, or you ask for support, or you try to get yourself injected earlier in the life cycle? How many of you have felt frustration that you can't move this direction? Yes, Heather, we got a lot of yes. And yes, Bart's felt it, everybody, except Charlie. Charlie's living the good life. He's living his best life as a tester. But I think we've all felt it, and except for Charlie. And then, but the problem is you start to feel like it's futile and that you can't do your best. So one of my roles, because now I lead a team, I'm going to give you the insights, what those of us who are divvying out the money and making the decisions, what we need to hear in order to understand it is we need to hear the so what. I understand you got late code. I understand you see a repeat of defects. So what? When you bring up a problem, you have to talk about why it matters. Well, it matters because it's going to take us 2 weeks longer to get this product to market than we planned. Well, it matters because we have seen the same pattern out of the same team, and it's holding up everybody else. It matters because we had to spend an extra $10,000 testing, rebuilding, and rerunning this. When you want to drive adoption, focus on the so what. Remember your peers who are working in other domains, mostly development, right? They're coming to work every day to do their very best job. They're not coming to do poor quality. But a lot of times developers have to focus on the inside out, right? The techniques they need, the languages they write, it can be very precise, and they're inside out. So if you want to, so they're looking at their stuff. If you want to drive adoption, you want to be outside in. You want to be so what? And the power is that links automatically to the vision of the organization. And this is why QA is so powerful. And this is as a team, right? And if you want to drive adoption of engineering quality in, you need to be talking about the so what. The so what is how it matters to the vision. The so what is how it affects the bottom line. And the so what is how it affects the customer's experience. All right, I'm done with that slide, Kirk. I just stepped off my soapbox and I did not twist my ankle on the way down.
No, appreciate that, Anne. Well, we came up with some drivers, like you mentioned, aligning with vision, but it's also understanding the current quality maturity level as well. And Michele, I know we talked quite a bit more about this in the rest of the presentation, but kind of as an introduction, what do we mean when we say quality maturity level?
Yeah, you have to know where you're at to know where you're going. And so it's important to establish that a level of maturity and as a baseline to help you support that journey and to have that discussion with your leadership and with your peers to get everyone on the same page. There's some statistics out there about some technology leaders, maybe on the development side, that have a higher level of perspective on where you may be in your maturity journey. And that's really important to get that alignment. So it's important to establish your maturity. It's important because that, and that maturity journey could be different for an organization. There are some organizations that may have sound QA principles and a strategy for defect prevention, and they have a healthy test automation capability. They may have a fairly short roadmap for a successful QE transition. Other organizations may have a more traditional quality control capability, and they'll have a longer roadmap, but they'll still see great success as long as they have that alignment with their leadership in IT, and that's been established.
So this is a infographic that we put together, Michele, and I know that this is something that we've used quite a bit with our clients as well, kind of a high level, kind of quick look at where someone might be on the quality engineering continuum. I'd love to have you walk through this a little bit more as well.
Yes, so this is a great infographic. And the one thing that we want to share with you is no matter where you are or where you see yourself, it's okay. But it's important to establish that and have clarity around that, and to have those conversations with the leadership team to make sure you're collaborating and you're aligned with where you want to be. And I'm going to talk through this a little bit. And again, this is something that you could see some aspects within your organization where, hey, we're pretty solid quality assurance, but we're doing some of those other things in quality engineering. Or same thing with, we're quality engineering, but we're already, we're actually doing some things from integrated quality engineering. So let's talk about that a little bit. Quality control, it's a reactive approach of identifying defects at the end of the development life cycle and ensuring the product meets the requirements established during the early phases of product development. It's focused on manual functional testing. You may have some of your processes that are consistent across your enterprise and that could be documented and well known within your organization. You could have some test automation that's in play. Tool usage may be minimal, and you may not have metrics clearly defined and standardized across your organization. So a quick poll, how many of you feel like that you would fall into more of quality control at this point in your journey?
I say quite a few me's and yeses, and a couple of in the chat room had asked, how come I can't see all responses? If you want to share with everybody, you do have to drop down the blue menu. It says all panelists and attendees. It's up to you if you want to do that or not. Otherwise, Anne and Michelle and I can see all the answers. So, we'll let everyone know what everyone's saying.
Yeah, and so I wonder, I typed an answer back to Richard Paul. He had a good question about, and I think this is going to apply to almost everybody who says, yes, they're in quality control. His organization thinks they're agile, but because they're working in 3-week sprints, but using waterfall processes. Guys, being in quality control or being in an early stage of agile or getting your toes wet, Michelle said it already, it's okay. Wherever you are, it's okay. There's room to go to the right? There's room to get better, but the power, what I love about this infographic is it lets you use fact-based communication, not emotional, not inflammatory language, but facts. Hey, we have pretty limited test automation. We do manual testing, we're involved, or in the case of the question is, we are moving to 3-week sprints, but we're still not automated, right? You have time, you just have to know where you start. And Michelle, I know you were just starting to go through QA, so I'll let you finish going through this.
Great. So quality assurance, it's a proactive approach for preventing defects. Processes and methods are defined with quality in mind, and metrics are established for traceability of test coverage. You're doing some non-functional testing. You have well-defined processes. You have a focus on automation, and your environments are streamlined, and you also have some traceability. So it is a proactive approach, but the transition. And so how many of you would fall into a quality assurance strategy within your organization?
Yeah, we have a number.
Yeah, great.
Like this is, again, you guys, it's progress. Remember, you are part of a robust ecosystem. And when you're trying to affect change, you've got to look at how all the different parts come together. What's the reality? How is your organization responding to people working remotely? How is your organization responding? How is, right? Have your sales changed and it's lowered your funding level? So just just understand that none of us works in a vacuum, right? We're all part of a complex ecosystem. And what I like about when you start to move from QC to QA is you're starting to be mindful of that ecosystem. All right, I know.
Righty, and so shifting, no pun intended, into quality engineering, which is a shift left driven approach. It's everything quality assurance is, but you have targeted test automation. You're using your tools extensively. You're involving performance engineering. You're also, very important to note too, is you're taking a look at your production defects, your incidents, you're evaluating them, you're doing root cause on them, taking a look at what you need to do to ensure quality throughout the process. And it's a really key aspect, as well as you've got higher level technical skill testers embedded within your teams to support that shift left driven approach. And curious, how many people do we have? How many participants that actually fall into quality engineering based on those definitions?
Okay, the answers are not coming in. I've got a not us. We've got a couple. We got a couple. Not yet, but we have people who are heading there.
Yeah, that's great.
Right? There are people who are heading that direction. They've moved a little past QA and they're between levels. You guys, that's perfect. I really, if you're between levels and you need something to get you over the hump, focus on metrics. Focus on metrics that show the value that your engineering efforts are bringing.
All righty, we'll move into integrated quality engineering and call it quality engineering plus. It's continuous testing, executing your automated test as part of the software delivery pipeline. It's an essential part of your CI/CD process. You're shifting left plus you're shifting right by collecting customer feedback and learning how your product operates under real world conditions with a user experience focus. You're also embedding STEP resources within your team. And it's considered a DevOps driven approach. So how many participants do we have today that might be in that, let's see who we have. It might be integrated quality engineering. We have Brian Adams. That's fabulous.
So we have some, but again, not too many. And that probably aligns with the question that we asked at the beginning of the presentation of where everyone was. We had a few that said we are far along in the path, and that certainly reflects with some of the answers we're getting with this.
Great. And then last but not least, we have advanced quality engineering, considered a cognitive approach using AI and machine learning capability to achieve optimized high quality automation at a fast rate. Automation, think automation with intelligence. Do we have anyone that would fall into advanced quality engineering?
I've not found a machine learning tool that is mature enough. That's what Brian had shared, and that is going to be a response we get from a lot of our.
You know what? I love that Brian's looking, right? Yeah. I love that they're to the point, right? Or we have things all over. I think when you have things all over, it's about looking at the ecosystem, making sure you don't have too many tools at play. But I love that folks are even looking and beginning to get there. I really want the QA to QE piece, I'm going to go back to driving buy-in. Every time you make a step farther to the right, focus on the so what. Why was it bad? And when you focus on the so what, it's actually how you fund your work. I'm using air quotes. You fund your work, you get the money and the resource and the investments you need to move forward. When you do the so what and show the value and the efficiency that these engineering efforts are producing.
No, it's great. And just so everyone's aware, we will be sending out this infographic to everybody after the presentation. It's also available at tapqa.com in our Knowledge Center. So you'll always be able to find this whenever you need it.
Great, thank you, Kim. Kirk?
So more drivers for adoption. I know that, you know, in a lot of cases, and I'm sure a lot of you who are attending have probably fallen into this too, where QA is just viewed as a bottleneck. And then how to best overcome that? Michelle, I know you have some thoughts around this.
Yeah. So in many organizations, and in particularly those that have practiced more traditional software development models, QA has been viewed as a bottleneck. Software organizations are focused on one big outcome at the end of the development cycle, and the defects found by QA stall a major release. The very tenet of quality engineering is building software with quality in mind. And it's the ideal is if everyone spends more effort thinking about quality as the software is being built, it eliminates the larger problems that might be uncovered by the testing teams at the end of the development cycle. And also overcoming that perspective, QA is a bottleneck. Developing a quality policy that identifies quality objectives that are aligned with the IT or vision and business strategy will provide an objective measure based on a shared vision within the organization. So and I can't articulate how critical and how important that is, especially if you've had that sense that you're a bottleneck into your organization. Get alignment with IT and business strategy, develop a policy, develop those objectives, and then have key measures and target goals based on where you want to be. And share that information about your progress with your peers, with your leadership on a regular basis. And Anne, I don't know if you have any additional thoughts around that.
Yeah, I think telling success stories. And the other thing is acknowledge the contributions and support you've gotten from other teams. The more you can recognize that other folks are coming to bat to help drive the adoption, the more adoption you're going to get. And I'm going to roll right into what this one is, to use the right metrics to measure success. And I'm not going to do a poll because I'm sure the answer is going to be high. If I said how many people use % complete to talk about how far they are through testing. And don't answer because % complete is my pet peeve. So, right, I run a big technology team, and when somebody says, I'm X % complete with testing, my question is always, so what? Right? So be really mindful of the metrics that you use. What you want to do is you want to show your project metrics that talk about increased throughput, decreased defects, improved phase containment. And then you want to talk about better product metrics, right? Once the project goes live, your product metrics would be a reduction in incidents, a reduction in a management of the production defect backlog. So using your metrics are going to be unique to your organization, but I want you to look critically at your own metrics and make sure they're metrics that matter to groups other than QA.
So Michelle, we touched on this a little bit with the infographic, of course, but there is a fairly straightforward method when it comes to assessing your quality maturity level. And we were going to quickly go through just some of the steps to be able to do that. Again, this is something that we do a lot with our clients. I mean, where we start engagements with our clients a lot of times is just this assessment right here. So Michelle, I guess kind of a brief overview of each of these steps.
Yeah, absolutely. So as it states, step one is really establishing your transition or transformation goals. But before you begin that, before you start an assessment, it's important for you to establish those goals and articulate that to the entire organization. So your immediate team leadership, your peers, the IT leadership, everyone should understand about what your objectives are as far as the assessment and before you begin. That would be step one. Step two would be identifying the key stakeholders that should be a part of the assessment. And it's important to identify key stakeholders, key resources to be involved. There's an old adage of too many cooks in the kitchen, and that could depend on in your organization having too many people or interviewing too many resources. Sometimes can extend the time that you might have dedicated for an assessment as far as understanding where you're at. Some of the recommendations that we have is that you, based on experience, is that you start with the QA leadership. They are the conductors of this orchestra, and they are instrumental in the fusion of quality through each step in the process. So the QA director, manager, software development director and manager, key software architects, and key business stakeholders should be absolutely involved when you're conducting your assessment. And you could also consider your BAs, product managers, PMO leaders, other key members within your QA organization, and for smaller companies, possibly your CTO and CIO. And I think I mentioned this previously. It's not uncommon for technical leadership to overestimate how advanced they are in their software quality maturity and underestimate the time necessary to complete the journey. So I just wanted to share that with you. Step three would be assess as actually preparing the timelines. Once you've kind of understood where, the stakeholders that you want to involve, there's a lot of custom maturity models that you can leverage to help support the goals, specific goals of your company or your business. Those models can be customized, and there can be some flexibility in assessing your process maturity and helping to map your quality engineering journey. The time of engagement will depend on the type of maturity model and the number of stakeholders involved in the discovery process. The next step is taking a deep dive into knowledge acquisition. You're going to conduct interviews with your key stakeholders to thoroughly understand the data. You're going to ask questions generated from your maturity model. And during these conversations, you want to lead with opening discussion to understand each individual's personal goals, their role within an organization, and to clarify the assessment objective. You also want to participate in any specific scrums and or testing meetings that are key and critical to have an understanding of the process, practice, and methodology. In addition, you'll be evaluating tools usage and test artifacts. And the final step is the discovery output. This is where your investment in defining an assessment approach, creating a findings catalog will be important. As you're going through your interviews and observing meetings, be sure you're preparing discovery output incrementally. Don't wait until after you've conducted all your interviews. And also share your findings during the assessment will help with understanding some of the themes that are emerging. Start looking at the findings and compare those against industry standards. This will help you create a report to share with your organization to clarify where you are in the quality maturity journey. It's also important that when you provide feedback, it's factual and you have the detailed data to support recommendations you have identified throughout the assessment. This all is going to feed into a final report and a roadmap that you share with your organization. And Anne, did you want to add anything additional?
Oh, you guys, I do. It's really important. Take a look at that picture. Go back to the next one, Kirk, the road. That is not a straight route, you guys. That is circuitous. It's a little bit unpredictable, and it's not just one thing. So I want you to be prepared that it's going to be 2 steps forward, 1 step back. It's going to be shimmying to your left and sashaying to your right. It's not a straight path. But we go back to the maturity curve Michele outlined. It's okay. but you have to know where you are. You have to know where the lane lines are. So that's just my observation on this.
Great. And the discovery output and this strategic review of the assessment findings actually established the framework for the high-level roadmap with prioritized improvements focused on your key themes and areas of focus through the quality engineering journey. The plan, the QE roadmap, should be a strategic plan that defines an end goal to include milestones. It should be used as a communication tool that articulates the why behind the goal and the plan for getting there. Deliberate and timed implementation of improvements will increase the adoption and reduce the likelihood of change fatigue. The roadmap should be time-scaled view of recommendations from the assessment, which makes it possible to see if the work is spaced out appropriately to support scheduled delivery.
Well, as we're looking at that, of course, there was people, process, technology, metrics. I mean, all these things are areas that organizations can improve when it comes to implementing quality engineering. But I think many of us would agree that it really starts with people. And Anne and Michelle, I know both of you would agree that the move to quality engineering, I mean, certainly you can work with the team you have now. We can bring in outside help, of course, as well. But it really it boils down to upskilling. And upskilling is so critical for any organization to move along in that quality maturity curve.
All right, I'm going to jump in here on this one, Kirk. You guys all have a responsibility to manage your own careers, which clearly you're doing because you've taken the time out to be here today. So first, just thank yourself for investing in your own career. But it can't end. I mean, Michelle and I each tell you how many domains we've worked in and how many hats we've been willing to put on. What I like to think of quality engineering and DevOps is it has the significance of the printing press. Because when the printing press first came out, what is in the 1600s sometime, right? You'd think it would put scribes out of business. But scribes mostly did things like indulgences and prayers and legal documents. But what the printing press did was it created an explosion of literacy, right? It taught, and it opened the door for new careers. So while you may have loved being a scribe, you could also be a great bookbinder or editor or writer or poet or librarian or publisher. So what I want you to think of upskilling your team is we are going to need people to work in roles that we don't even know exist yet. Just as the scribes would have no idea we were going to need librarians, or there'd be e-publishing, right? They couldn't even imagine that. Be prepared. There are careers your team is going to have to face they can't even imagine. So the most important thing to do is to get focused on learning. Get focused on learning and the business. Michelle, did you want to add anything on this slide?
Yes, and so in my career, and I've generally found that test professionals, QA professionals align with a technical or a business-focused track. And so there are clear opportunities to upskill your current team to support transformation objectives. I found that professionals with a business focus understand the business processes for the applications and systems they're supporting, and there's an opportunity to upskill them to become a subject matter expertise. It can be accomplished through collaboration and cross-functional knowledge sharing sessions with your business resources, in addition to expanding their role as an end user advocate. And Kirk, I want you to share a little bit about something that we've coined at tapQA, and you call it.
Yeah, humanual testing. It's a term that we've been using at tapQA for quite a while now, and it's kind of like where we think of. And I think there's so much out there about, as a manual tester, the more and more we automate things, the more and more we adopt DevOps and quality engineering. What does that mean for my career? And really, we see that path as, again, the business-focused path, or the humanual testing path, where really the key skill there is testing with empathy, testing through the lens of our customers, really being the customer advocate. And that's a role that QA plays so well, and something that we've helped organizations train their team members, implement processes to really bring out that skill in their QA team members that may not want to go down the technical path. They may not have the gene for coding. So humanual testing is really what we call, I guess, our empathy-based approach, testing with personas, kind of going beyond the traditional test casing and test cases, and really testing in the through the lens of our end users, just to make sure that the products that we're producing are going to achieve the maximum amount of end user satisfaction, which is really the key outcome for QA departments worldwide, as you've seen from various surveys and reports that are out there. So, you know, the humanual testing, we're actually going to be doing a webinar next month on humanual testing, kind of the, you know, how to get your team members skilled up in that area. So we're excited about that, but that's where, you know, when you see the term humanual testing, as much as you do see that, or if you see that at all, that's what we mean by that.
Thank you, Kirk. And also the other track that I see a lot and currently exists within teams is the technical track. And this, surely you have QA professionals in this track that may be already supporting your automation or performance testing efforts. And there's an opportunity to extend their existing skill set to support your automation initiatives across the software development lifecycle. And you can accomplish this by using some SDETs within the team to support that cross-training effort. And one last thing I want to say about the upskilling strategy, it's critical for those of you that are leaders within the quality space of your organization to understand the strengths within your team and also identify the training opportunities to support transformation objectives. It's important to communicate the why to your team. It's important to involve some of your key players in your upskill strategy. And it's also a big piece of advice is have honest conversation regarding the roles and that are going to need to evolve with your team members.
Great. I know we'll start our Q&A section soon here. Anne and Michelle, any final points before we open it up for questions?
You guys read constantly. Don't, read about, don't think a tool is going to solve anything, but read about how these transitions and transformations are going at different companies, and don't stop educating and informing yourself.
We'll open it up for Q&A, and so for those attending, please feel free to, you can either ask a question in the chat room, or you could ask questions directly in the Q&A box. Sometimes that's a little bit easier for us to see it. And then we'll start answering that. Really quick, just wanted to, again, tapQA, we're here to help when it comes to your journey to quality engineering. We'd love to partner with you to create that successful journey. We can help with quality maturity assessments. We can help with building a roadmap. Work with you to bolster your team with our quality experts across the board, whether it be more business-focused humanual testers, senior strategists, test automation engineers, SDET consultants, which is, of course, a very hard skill set to find and something that we cultivate quite a bit here at tapQA. We're here to help, and that's something that we are incredibly passionate about. Our motto is great people ensuring great tech, and that's really the thing that we live by every day. We're very passionate, very creative when it comes to quality engineering, and would love to help. You can find out more about us at tapqa.com. You can also email me, as we do offer a free quality engineering consultation, kind of a high-level look at our approach, learn a little bit more about where you are in your own quality journey, and start to make recommendations on how to progress in that journey. So would love to talk to you. Again, we'll be following up after the presentation as well, but feel free to learn more about us at our website, and then you can reach out to me directly at kwalton@tapqa.com. So with that, we will start our Q&A section. I see a few questions that are coming in. First of all, great question from Jennifer is, how do you handle all of this when you are a team of one?
All right, I'm going to jump in and take it, Jennifer. This is Anne. So when you're a team of one, the good news is you're going to be able to make decisions really fast because you've only got to approve them for yourself. What I would start with is, grab a blank piece of paper and some crayons, some colored pencils, something, and really draw out your process. I want you to draw the process that you take just do it for one project. Lay out your steps, and then I want you to honestly look and see what could what's getting in my way of success, and what do I want my process to look like, right? You have to draw your process. This is what it is right now. Write out what's working in it, what's not working in it, and then draw out what success looks like. And then the things that aren't working, if they're within your control, you can start to fix them. But being a team of one is absolutely a great place to be, because you can fix it yourself. I'd encourage you to use a friend, a mentor, a sponsor, an advisor, a colleague in another role, to take a look at your drawing. You've got to, because you got to draw out your own process yourself, and you've got to draw out your target state. But get somebody's feedback on it, whether or not it makes sense, and then make your list and start going.
Great. Sridharan asks, what are the important metrics needed to improve the process? And Sridharan, by that, do you mean progress down the quality maturity path, or just, kind of a general improvement of your QA processes? We'll wait for him to type that in, but Anne and Michelle, metrics that you immediately turn to when it comes to process improvement.
Michelle, are you going to go, or do you want me to go?
Oh, yeah, I'll go. I'm so sorry.
I could talk metrics all day.
I could too. Now, it's going to be important. There's a couple of different things that we could talk about as far as your metrics. And there's metrics from the perspective of measuring your changes, right? Your journey of transformation, right? And how you're going to provide that ROI to your organization to say, hey, it was worth the investment. And some of the things that we could talk about that are real obvious are, doing the comparisons of the time that it took to manually execute your regression suite and the time savings when you automated that regression suite. There's also the aspect of, when we're talking about metrics that you should measure, there's some great resources. And Kirk, maybe we can include this, because this is something that's provided at Star West too, about the 25 most important metrics to measure in a continuous testing process. And I think that would be a nice addition to share with the participants. And it's a great resource that articulates the metric and where it is in the software development life cycle, as well as the formula for acquiring that metric and that data.
Sure.
Yep.
That would be great.
Yep.
And Sridharan, feel free, if we didn't fully answer your question, feel free to elaborate as well. We have a question. Can you consider unit testing as a replacement for test automation for some particular features?
So different tests have different purposes. So can you consider unit testing a replacement for test automation? Unit testing is designed to test that a particular function, module, chunk of work works the way it's supposed to be. It's the way it's supposed to work, and that it doesn't do what it's not supposed to do. Test automation lets you take that particular chunk of work, and you can hit it with even more data and more scenarios. Test automation also lets you piece together a series of tests to test a more complete function. So I think that unit testing, and while it can be automated, your full automation suite is it's separate than from unit testing. It's more complex, it's more rich. than just unit testing. Does that help?
Oh, thanks, Sam. Another question from Swetar, and thanks for the question, Anurag. Are there any tools which help an organization to trace the learning starting from BRD till post go live issues? I don't know if I'm reading that correctly.
Yes. So where we want to use the tools we use to trace, it depends how you use them. A lot of organizations have ServiceNow, or they have Remedy, or maybe they use the, what is that? All of a sudden drawing a blank on what Quality Center is called now. But those are three tools I think that can help you trace the learning from end to end. And if you're really specific with how you configure Jira, you can do it in Jira too. To trace the learning end to end, you've got to capture everything you find and learn throughout a project, and you have to tag it where you found it. I found this, I learned this while we were writing stories. I learned this while we were sizing. I learned this while we were capturing requirements. I learned this at unit test. So you've got to, so you can use any one of those tools, again, ServiceNow, Remedy, Quality Center, even a really well organized Jira. But then as a team, you have to have the discipline to record what you find. That's the tricky part with metrics, you guys. And that's why you want to focus on metrics that matter. There's some administration that's required to get the data so that you can calculate the metrics. But if you really want to elevate the profile of your quality team and you really want to move towards engineering, this is the heart of it, right? The heart of it is getting the data. We all know Peter Drucker said, if you can't measure it, you can't manage it. If you cannot measure your quality engineering, you can't manage it.
Question from the Q&A box. I really love this one because I think this is a challenge that a lot of quality leaders are going to face, particularly as you move on to quality engineering. And that's how to get those without quality in their title excited about quality. So in a lot of cases with quality engineering, we need to bring in more technical folks from the development team. And in a lot of cases, those folks are really not too jazzed about working on something that falls into the quality realm. So Anne, any fun suggestions? Michelle, any fun suggestions about getting those without quality in their title excited about quality?
Prizes, food. Right? People love recognition. So I think what you can do is maybe come up with some awards like Friend of Quality, Quality Champion. Come up with some recognition that is acknowledged by senior leadership. And maybe it doesn't say quality in it. Maybe it's innovator. Maybe it's accelerator. Maybe it's customer advocate.
Yes.
Use some other words other than quality and sponsor the awards, nominate people.
Well, and for a lot of organizations where quality is certainly the idea of quality engineering aligns with the vision of leadership, I think it is something that could be driven by leadership, like you said, Michelle, or like you said, Anne, is to have a quality MVP, for example, or something like that. I mean, something where it's, it's someone who goes above and beyond their job title to make sure that quality is being infused in each step of the process. I think it's a wonderful idea. One of our
Golden goat.
one of our attendees said a golden goat. And it's an actual golden goat. I hope not a live one, but I assume a trophy of some kind that's awarded once a month. And GOAT in this case, Jennifer, I don't know if that stands for greatest of all time or if there's a, another, okay, perfect. I love that. I mean, anything to get people, like you said, I mean, people love recognition, they love awards. Anything to get people jazzed about quality, particularly if it hasn't been an emphasis of their role in the past, is huge. Next question that we have is, have you seen the transition to quality engineering in action in a company with mixed technology software solutions? So in this case, products in the company include legacy desktop applications, then mobile only, mobile and web mixed, each in different product teams with assigned QA staff. We work with a number of organizations like this, and certainly have seen the transition. Michelle and Anne, I'm sure you have very specific examples that would be great to share.
Yes, Kirk, we have definitely seen that with one of our clients, and that does come with some challenges. But you have to be able to establish priority and look at opportunities to pilot some of the practices on a team that may be an early adopter. That would be my biggest recommendation, and really socialize. This is my biggest piece of advice is it's important whenever you're taking this journey that collaboration and working with your peers within the development team, the architecture team, security team, that you're really sharing with them your journey and where you're at, and having them come along with you and supporting you. And I think that you can have a good plan and understand where you're going, but along with that is that communication, that collaboration, that influence with other parts of the organization to help support you. And it might mean in your scenario that you might need to take a look at a project or a product team that you would start piloting some of your transformation or transition activities in first, and show how that's worked and how that's been a success, and then extend that out to the rest of your organization. And Anne, I don't know if you wanted to add anything.
No, I think that's great. Hey, you guys, I have a little something coming up at my day job that I wasn't planning on. I'm hoping, Michelle, that you and Kirk can, I love the golden goat. I'm hoping you guys can wrap so I can go. I gotta, no
Sure.
rest for the weary.
No question. Well, wanted to just let everyone know to keep an eye on your email. We'll be following up with the recording of the presentation. We also have the deliverables that we had talked about during the presentation. We have a 4-page guide that we'll be sharing with everyone. And then Michelle, also the list that you mentioned of the 25 metrics, we'll be able to send a link along to that.
Yes.
In the meantime, feel free to check out tapqa.com, and then you can reply back to that email that you received later, or you can reply back to me directly for to set up a free quality engineering consultation. Michelle, you and I can hang out for a few more minutes as well. We're going to stop the recording right now, but for those that may have some other questions that you'd like to reach out to us directly, we'll stay on for quite a bit longer, and you can do that either in the chat room or the Q&A section, but we'll stop the recording now. And for those who are leaving, thanks again for attending our session today. We really appreciate it, and hope that it was informative, and definitely look forward to speaking with you down the road as you're on your quality engineering journey. We'd love to be able to help. So once again, thanks everyone for attending, and we'll after we stop the recording, we'll hang out for quite a while to answer any other questions that you may have.